Aphrodite, the goddess of Venus, the goddess of love. When you come to the Greek side of Cyprus, you cannot escape hearing all about her. You see her statues and pictures around every street corner on the island. The legend goes that the goddess fell from the skies and arose from the foam of the seas of Cyprus, making Cyprus forever a mystical island of love. So the question I have is, how can the island of love also be known as the last divided country in Europe and contain the last divided city in the world? Sharing seems like it should be a virtue of love. And after being here for only a week with my fellow Tennessee students, sharing is definitely not an action any of us would associate with Cyprus. Two countries separated by a timeout line. And today, we got to walk right through history in the making.
Like a there you guys are. It's the Greek. There you guys are. For you guys. It fell again. It's really awkward. No, you fell in front of like all those people back there. I'm really stressed out. Oh. Yeah, is she like, I bought a lot of stuff.
What'd you buy?
Bought a rug. Do you guys like it? Where are you going to put that? Oh my god, that's so different. I'm going to what? What is it? It's a prayer rug. Is it really a prayer rug? No, it's not. Dina's on my bed.
What?
You bought a prayer rug?
Dina,
So when we got here, what the GLS professors told us about the history of the island was that in 1974, the Turkish army moved onto the island and started invading. And they took over about 40% of the island before the UN came in and stopped their advance. And they put a dividing line on the island.
When you approach the Green Line, you run into Greek soldiers, and that represents the starting of the Green Line. And then you walk through, and as you actually enter the Green Line, the center is lined with plants, and it's surrounded by screens and old abandoned buildings up on the top side that are falling down. And then when you actually get to the Turkish side, you run into Turkish soldiers, and you have to go through a checkpoint where they stamp your passport or they stamp your visa and sign it to show that you'd been there. And they stamp the visa because if they stamp your passport, it creates problems in other countries since they are considered an occupied territory. So then once you get all that paperwork done, you can continue onto the Turkish side.
I found it odd just because we're used to being in America where you can go over to the next town or even 3 states over, witnessing hardly any change at all. Yet here in Cyprus, a wall separates a completely other world. The Cypriot side has a lot more like designer clothing stores. The streets are more paved, it's nicely landscaped, there's a lot more people running around. And then the Turkish side has more, there's more poverty there. There's not as many people. You see dead flowers as you're walking around. That man, what were you guys saying to that man? He owned the store?
Oh, God, yeah. He said that he was the guy that was telling me about how he thinks that it's peaceful that the Greeks and the Turkish live separately, that he loves it like that because he can go over there without his passport. You know, he doesn't have to show his passport, so he thinks it's fine. And he said that he thinks Americans should be split up in whites, blacks, and Hispanics, and we would be more functional too.
Wow.
Yeah.
The uniqueness of this country, I could not wrap my head around. So I decided to relate the situation to something I am very familiar with, and came up with this. The dead zone is an unfortunate brown and dusty filling to the equally delicious Greek and Turk layers in the Cyprus Oreo. But if only these two sides could get along, this could create one very blended cookie, a new flavor everyone will love. I guess after 36 years, neither side is willing to have their cookie blended.
Καλοήρη κριτική και τρισποταγιών όρος καράβιν αρματώσανε, καράβιν αρματώσανε. Κύριε Λέησον και με το Κύριε Λέησον στην Κρήτη για να πάει